Welcome back to my top 25 films of 2012. This will be the final part, numbers 5 to 1, and in my opinion, these are the top 25 films of 2012. Number 5 is Cabin in the Woods, which was a horror film that completely turned on its head horror conventions and to some extent movie conventions in the way it created a comedy out of all these horror scenarios, even though the film is incredibly brutal and gory, and it's got a last 20 minutes that's just wall-to-wall gore. But the reason it works so well is they managed to make it incredibly funny in those last 20 minutes and the rest of the film. And it's got these characters that you really do connect with. Um, and to be honest, it's got one of the best stoner characters in film for a good long while, played by Frank Kranz. And I think it's just this film that completely gives you a warped sense of what a horror film should be about, and I love that, and I think that that's why I love it so much. Number 4 is Wild Bill, which is a British film I watched back in April, all about a man who gets out of prison and finds out his family is completely crumbled because his wife has run away to Spain with her new boyfriend and left the kids on their own. And one of them has got a job working construction to pay the bills and is incredibly angry, and rightly so. And it's a film that doesn't let Bill off the hook, even though he has a reason for not being there. He has to live up to the mistakes he's made, and I think the film does a really good job of making him do that. And it's a family film that doesn't feel like a family film, and it's a gangster film that doesn't feel like a gangster film, and it's a really clever pastiche of different movie genres all in one, and it never really feels like any of them, but it feels like a great movie, and it is a great movie, and it's got some great performances in it, and blink and you'll miss it, you'll spot Andy Serkis in it as well, which is quite nice, as he plays a completely bonkers gangster who Bill knows from the past. Number 3 is Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, which is a film that is all about unusual couplings, but it's also about, obviously, the end of the world, because the film is based around the fact that there are 2 weeks left to the until the end of the world, and Steve Carell and Keira Knightley are both trying to get someplace, and they're both trying to help each other to get there. And Steve Carell's trying to find his long-lost love, and Keira Knightley's trying to get back to her family in England. And I think the film works because these two people do not belong on screen together, but when they are on screen together, it's so incredibly dynamic and brilliant, and they play off each other so well because they're not supposed to, and it's got these great supporting characters like William Peterson, Patton Oswalt, and Connie Britton. They all provide these great comedy characters along the way because it is a comedy despite the horrific nature of what's about to happen. And it's a film that never really forgets that it is a film about the end of the world. It's one of these things that's introduced at the beginning as fact. The world is going to end, and it's all about how they make themselves okay with the fact that it's going to end. And it's really beautiful at the end, and it's a great movie. Number 2 is Ben Affleck's Argo, which I saw in, I think, November with my dad, and it was just so incredibly tense and surprisingly incredibly funny, because the first hour is essentially a comedy film with some great performances by Alan Arkin and John Goodman, and um, it's got this great comedy at the beginning to sort of lighten the mood and get you ready for the last hour and a half, which is incredibly tense and dark and very nerve-wracking, because it introduces these 6 characters, these 6 members of the US Embassy who managed to escape just before the Iranians stormed the embassy back in, I think, the 80s, no, the late 70s, and it's a film that is just uh, clever. It's really well edited. It's probably the best film editing since, I think, not Avatar, Inception. Um, and I think because of that, it ratchets up this tension that you have, wondering whether or not they're going to get out of the country alive, and it's the last 40 minutes, your heart's pounding, and it's a really involving film. And I think the reason it's so involving is because these people that you're following, these 6 characters, are so well acted and written, and they feel very real and just incredibly. Well, you're incredibly moved by them, and they got some great performances by Carrie Bichet, Tate Donovan, and especially Clea Duvall. Um, and I think that without those performances by these 6 people, it'll be an alright film, because it's got some great direction in it, but it wouldn't have the same quality, and it wouldn't be as involving, and you wouldn't care so much if these performances weren't good. But they are great, and it's a wonderful film. And finally, it's a film that I didn't think I'd like. I didn't really like Emma Watson in the Harry Potter films, but I found it to be absolutely jaw-droppingly brilliant, and that's The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Because I think I liked it because I've always really liked high school movies. They sort of had a theme or a message that I've really felt has been either important or touching, and I think this one does too. And I think the reason why is because it's such a dark film. It's a film about a high school child who isn't really the conventional high school child. He's incredibly clever, incredibly smart. Not saying that all other high school students are, but he's locked in a world of his own that's a place you don't want to be. He's locked in a place where he's constantly thinking about the past, but unable to think about it too long. Otherwise, he has these episodes, and he's a very twisted child, but he's very nice. He stands up for his friends. He's everything you'd want in a friend, and I think that's why you can't help but follow him along this journey, because he is so incredibly likable, despite the fact that he doesn't really like himself. And it's got these 2 great performances by Emma Watson and Ezra Miller, who play his friends, who are seniors, and he's just joined high school, so they're about to leave, and he's sort of making friends for the first time at this new school, but he doesn't know how long it's going to last, and I think that's incredibly true to life, and he worries that he's going to ruin it, but he's also not afraid to jump right in. I think Logan Lerman's performance as Charlie, the lead character, is so incredibly subdued, yet very revealing. Is the reason that the film works so well, and it's got this. And Emma Watson is great in it, and I was really surprised that she was able to do it. And I think I will probably follow her to whatever she does next because of it. And I hear it's a Sofia Coppola film, so I'm looking forward to that one. And they're the top 5 films of 2012 in my opinion, and hope you like them. I'll be back with a review of The Impossible in the next few days.